Every pesticide application has a couple things in common. One, you're using a pesticide to control a pest. That pesticide has a potential to affect the environment around you in ways that you don't intend. So it's always important to first off read and understand the label so that you understand what those potential risks might be. And then the other thing is that that pesticide offers an opportunity to control a pest that may be unwanted in an area, whether that be weeds, insects, or diseases. And so we want to do everything we can to maximize the performance of that pesticide on that potential pest. So when we start to think about how we make those types of pesticide applications, it's real important to understand all of the factors that may be at play. When we start to talk about those different factors, the first thing that's going to come to mind is the weather conditions. And in particular, when we talk about spraying some sort of a pesticide, the wind is the first place we want to start. We know that the higher that wind speed gets, the more it's going to change or alter that pattern. The more off-target movement we're going to get, or the pesticides are going to blow away from that intended target area. We also want to consider the potential for rainfall or other types of environmental conditions that could change or alter that pesticide application in some way. So for most of our pesticides that we're going to be dealing with, we're talking about products that we need to get in contact with that pest. If we get a rainfall event shortly after making that application, that could also compromise that pesticide. Beyond that, there's a lot of other things to start to consider that become important in terms of how well that pesticide works. The first place we always like to start is if you're starting to set up a home sprayer of some sort, think about the nozzles that you want to use, because the nozzles are going to influence the droplet size, and the droplet size is really going to drive the control that we get. Now, if I'm thinking about that home sprayer, a lot of our applications are going to be made with some sort of a flat fan nozzle. Most of those flat fan nozzles provide a relatively small droplet size, which is going to give us great coverage, but we want to be cautious, because if we get too much small droplets being sprayed, we have that potential for drift again, and we could lose that pesticide to areas that that pest may not be, causing unintended effects as well. So as we start to think about those environmental impacts, wind in particular is a very important one, like we mentioned. In our lab, we've got a set of wind tunnels that we use to mimic certain application conditions, trying to understand how that wind might influence that application. We've also got a set of greenhouses that allow us to grow and cultivate pests. So unlike a lot of the greenhouses you might see across Nebraska, here we're going to have different weeds growing up in the greenhouse. We might have different diseases or insects that we're cultivating here, with the intent of trying to see how different nozzles, different pressures, different application techniques, or different pesticide rates might influence that control. So what we're really trying to do is understand how all of those different factors, from decisions that we make in setting up that sprayer, to the environmental conditions, to how that pest might respond to those application techniques, influence the control of that pest in the environment.